good evening to you, our viewers, those of you who are watching us from right here in Georgetown, those of you who are watching us from Region 6, Region 5, Regions 1, Regions 2, Region 7, Region 9, and Region 8, and of course, those who are watching us from Region 10. Good evening to you. And of course, we can't forget our viewers who are watching us from within the Caribbean, those who are watching us from North America, those who are watching us from Turkey and Switzerland. Every week, my folks in Switzerland and Turkey, they're saying, make sure you mention us. So good night to you. And I'm hoping that you had a wonderful day today. We're on again with another episode of Advancing the Cause. And you know what? Tonight, we're talking real talk. Tonight, we're talking about, our topic says tonight, all that glitters is not gold. And you're going to find some very, very revealing things happening here this evening. But let me share with you very quickly our highlights before I get into my other greetings. In our highlights this evening, we have a Curtin woman chopped, and she's been admitted to the New Amsterdam hospital. She's been chopped by her lover, a jealous lover, of course. And these issues are becoming more and more prevalent in our society. And I'm wondering what is happening at the Ministry of Social Protection. What is happening there? What is Minister Vindi Prasad doing with all of these women who are being abused and brutalized by their partners? What is happening, as well as men who are being abused by their partners? What is happening? Why aren't we having an awareness drive to bring more consciousness what is happening in our society? Why aren't we having these kinds of conversations so that we can instill in our young men and our young women that abuse is not it, violence is not it. We can talk about issues when we have them. These people just wasting time. And like our topic says, all that glitters is not gold. And so you see them going out there and they're smiling up big, broad, and so on and bold. And you're thinking that all is well and they're doing so much, but they're not doing anything because our people are suffering. So this young lady is just 34 years old and she is now hospitalized. We're not sure what is going to be the outcome and if she's going to be disabled in any form. But it's sad that we're still having these issues happening across this country. And then we saw, this is a brighter one. We saw Guyana upstaging Brazil to finish fifth in the Junior Pan America Hockey Championship. Guyana finishing fifth in that championship. And so we want to say kudos to our boys there and our girls who were part of that championship. And we really do admire the way you have been allowing the Guyana flag to fly. And while I'm on that, let me also mention again our Carifta athletes who shone there beyond all the conditions that were facing them. And yes, while we're on that, I must tell you that the president of AAG, he was relieved of his duties as president because it was an embarrassment to this country, again, with these athletes who are going out there to represent us. But I want to say again, and I want to ask those of you who are watching us to find out if you've heard anything being mentioned with regards to those athletes who performed there exceptionally well, whether those athletes, a street is going to be named after them, whether they're going to have a scholarship, whether they're going to get a piece of land, something. What are we giving to these athletes when they go out there and cause the flag of Guyana to flow there, the golden arrowhead? It's a great feeling when you're out there and you see that golden arrowhead there just flowing. And our athletes can stand up at the podium right at the top there to receive their medals. Congratulations again to these athletes. And then we have another soaring issue that is taking over this country at every level. We saw it in Essequibo, we are seeing it in the Demerara, we are seeing it in Berbice. Accidents and many more accidents. And you know what? So many of our young people are losing their lives senselessly. We saw just the other day a young man on the Essequibo coast. Luckily, no one was hurt in that accident seriously. We saw a presidential guard losing his life and about 4 others who were injured in that accident. We don't know what's going to happen with them after, but we saw this young 24-year-old man losing his life. And you know what? It is saying to us 2 things we are getting from this. One, that ignorance, arrogance, and stupidity will not move this nation. And you know what? These young men they're trusted with big vehicles, and that vehicle, I'm told, is about $22.5 million. $22.5 million taxpayers' monies that are being given to them, and they're driving recklessly across the roads in this country, all because they have a blue and red light that they can flash. And so whether you are PS, whether you are general secretary, whether you're an ordinary citizen, they are coming with blazing speed, looking to run you off the roads. But you know what? I would have learned a while ago. Speed thrills, but it kills. And so while we are lamenting on this fact, I'm wondering, what is the president, installed or not? What is he saying about all of these things? Because recently we've seen lots of government vehicles being involved in accidents, including police vehicles, including vehicles of ministers, including vehicles of the presidential entourage. Why is it that this young man was trying to overtake a whole long line of vehicle? What rush was he in? He wasn't on duty. Well, I don't know if he was on duty and he probably got away and was hurrying back there. But at the end of the day, senselessly, lives are lost. And so parents are now left without a son. Sisters and brothers are left without a brother. Nieces and nephews are left without an uncle. It doesn't make sense. And so let's start making this make sense. Stop speeding down the roads, especially when you don't have official business that they're going on. Stop speeding down the roads. Stop putting on those lights on your, and having those sirens going when you don't have anywhere to go, but you just don't mean to stay in the line. And the second thing is, it is saying to us that Guyana has gotten lawless because we got a lawless head of state, and everything else is falling into play. Well, we had one who's now occupying the seat of vice president, you know. And so we've got to stop this nonsense. People's lives are important, and we must instill that. The president must say to his entourage, and you know what? I remember long ago, we used to have very well trained drivers who were used to drive the presidents and the prime ministers and the head of the Guyana Defense Force and the head of the police force and so on. Trained drivers, seasoned and trained drivers we used to have. But now, anybody driving. 19 years old, 21 years old, 25 years old, everybody driving. And everybody just feel that they're big and they're pompous and they could do whatever. And the end result is loss of lives. Somebody is maimed, somebody is traumatized, and families are hurting. Let's be careful on the road, folks. Let's do what we have to do. And then we move on to fires. So we have accidents and we have fires. They're competing with each other, and we're having them spread across this country. Folks, let us be a little more careful. Before you leave home, ensure that your appliances are plugged out. Ensure that your stove is turned off. Ensure that if you're going to leave children at home, that you don't have matches within their hand reach, that you don't have the lighters within their hand reach. Ensure that our children are properly supervised if you're not going to be at home, so that we can ease on all that is happening. So we had West Rumvelt, 4 households. We had Horstellin, and I think somebody died there. We had on the quarantine, somebody died on the East Coast, on the Essequibo Coast. Come on. We have to learn to be a little more responsible. And I can understand sometimes, frustration is causing some of these things to happen, that you have to rush out there to get to work on time. You have to go out there to do something else. But come on, let's start being a little more careful. And before we move off from that, I want to say to you that, ExxonMobil, not very friendly to us, not nice to us, because they've been robbing us beyond. They've been raping this country and its citizens of the resources that we ought to have here. And you know what? We got a man who called himself the vice president. Before now, he was blasting the coalition government about the the contract that they signed there, and they're going to renew this contract when they get into government. And you know what you're seeing now? The same man is not interested. He is not interested in renewing that contract. And so this is saying to us that all that glitters is not gold. Operator, could you put on screen for us, and let's have some of the glitters going so our viewers can understand that all that glitters is not gold. You notice? We can't even offer a good smile. Yes, all that glitters is not gold. Well, I think when they thought they were surprising persons, they surprised themselves, because real die-hard loyal people don't jump ship. And I saw a viewer there saying to us, the only people who jump ships are, it begins with P. Those are the only people who jump ships. So maybe these are some of those. We can categorize them in that grouping. But it is saying to us that persons will go and sell themselves, just like what happened in the days of old, for a few pieces of silver. A few pieces of silver you're selling yourself for. But that's okay, because our constitution gives everyone the right to choose. And since some people don't understand how to choose, then, all that glitters is not gold. It's not gold. Continue, operator. You see what we got there? We got some dark pens there. Again, all that glitters is not gold. And while I'm going to continue there, I think it's time for me to bring my guest in. We've been talking a whole lot about young people, and we want young people to know too that we are promoting young people. We value young people because we understand that they are tomorrow's leader. And so joining me on my program this evening is the president acting of the YSM, or the chairman acting of the YSM, Comrade Kibwe Copland. Welcome to another episode of Advancing the Cause. It's always good to have you here, because when other young people like yourself see you here, they are inclined to want to listen. They're inclined to want to be a part of what we do. And I trust that your stay here this evening is going to be a fantastic one. While I'm talking about all that glitters is not gold, you are going to be able to share with us that indeed all that glitters is not gold. But before we go into that conversation with you, I want us to look at this one here. Operator? Which one? We want to look at the one with Comrade Kemraj.
Wrong the marrow 7 times and he didn't marry the girl. That's the guy I'm talking about. That's the guy who also indicated. Please, he saw the wedding, and the man collect a lot of millions in gifts. Now that there was no wedding, did he give back the gifts? That's the fellow we're talking about. That's the fellow who also indicated that 2 terms and then I will go and plant a farm. And then he arranged somebody to carry a matter to court so that he can run a term now. And you gonna believe a fellow like that? They ain't got no anybody else in the PPP that could be leader of the opposition? Wamton Nandalal, goat bitey?
Operator, could we get that from the starting? Because I don't think our viewers got the full essence of what did they come.
Remember he walked around the marrow 7 times and he didn't marry the girl? That's the guy I'm talking about.
All that glitters is not gold. That's the guy we're talking about, the same guy who walked around the marrow and said he married the girl, but he didn't marry the girl really. Kibwe, your thoughts on that one?
It wasn't a legal marriage. Basically.
And these are the people who try to talk and preach to the coalition, to tell us what we can do. And they're not genuine in what they do. They only come out there with big, broad smiles. And like our topic is saying, all that glitters is not gold. Fake, a whole lot of fake people. We want to have the one with Comrade Trotman.
Mr. Speaker, come here and try to lecture us after you've left that behemoth that has failed in Skelder.
200 million US.
Have the temerity to turn up here and give us $280 million that can't produce 1 kilowatt of power, and then you want to come here and lecture as if you were the world's greatest economist? How dare you come here to lecture us? Mr. Speaker, this honorable member is nothing but a doctor of doom, because if the people of Ghana were to hear him, they would know that he has nothing good to offer. The Skeldon is down because of him. The Burbage River Bridge, we are barely holding it up because of him. Every sector that you touch is down because of you. The National Insurance Scheme, the Marriott Hotel, Mr. Speaker, under his government, just 7 years ago, we had become a pariah state, awash with drug money and corruption. There are people in this house who couldn't travel abroad. People in this house who couldn't travel abroad. And Mr. Speaker, now we're being told and lectured to. Who are the pharaohs who just showed up and tried to tell us how to run a country? No. Mr. Speaker, the opposition leader has to remember he is in the opposition, has to remain in the opposition. Don't come and lecture us about good governance. We will not be lectured by the leader of the opposition on good governance, anybody else. I will take a lecture from Mr. Shearer. I'll take a lecture from Mr. Odinga Lumumba, but we will not take a lecture from you. No, not you, never.
Yes, so that was Comrade Raphael Trotman talking about the first vice president. They are telling him that we will not take any lecture from him because he's a doctor of doom, and he continues to be the doctor of doom. Every single project he has put his hand on, they have failed. You remember the cables? You remember, Kibwe, you remember the cables?
Yes.
The fiber optic cables? When he walking along the seawall with the friends and the family and the favorites? And what happened with the cables? We hearing anything about it?
A lot of things have been done. Well, what the PPP is very good at, and especially the vice president, they're good at painting walls, old walls, of course, making it look all neat and nice. But inside of those walls, there's nothing but chaos. And we've seen that in this country, and we continue to see that in this country. And they come out, like, for example, if you could, I don't want to rush to your topics into local government elections and nomination day, but you see a lot of painting pictures. You see persons in red jerseys. They didn't tell you that they paid them $10,000 or they use contract workers, come out and work and go wear red jerseys. We see them trying to paint a picture that they have a crowd, that they have a majority in Georgetown. He said it himself. Since 1957, they have never won Georgetown. They will not win Georgetown, even at this local government election in 2023. Georgetown is continuously and will be, the same goes for Linden, the same goes for New Amsterdam, the same goes for Bartico, will continuously be the strongholds of the PNC, the APNU. Because what they're doing, what they're trying to show people is a picture that they have things under control. The only thing they have under control is corruption. It speaks for itself.
Well, it's a couple of things they got under control. They got the drug shipment under control. They got corruption under control. Discrimination, when you talk about that, it's widespread.
Correct.
As we're going on this, we talk about we're going to jump right into what happened on nominations day. I have seen lots of messages that came to me with persons asking for my opinion on what they should do, because they were instructed, and we're talking here about the $40,000
10-day workers.
10-day workers, where they were instructed to come out there, assemble at certain points, and put on their red T-shirts. And if they didn't do that, then their contracts would not be renewed. How can we trust these people? And so they go out there and they paint this picture. But we know that all that glitters is not gold.
I really like your topic, because that is a true representation of Guyana right about now. All that glitters that is not gold. Contract workers being bullied to come out and wear red jerseys to support a political party just because they want to hold on for the job. Certain person, I know one person was saying, look, I get paid $10,000 for 3 hours. There's a good day pay. That's even more than some people who've been paid in the office.
Well, you got that information. I got that information too, where I was talking to some comrades and they said to me, look, sister, don't feel no way. But I ain't working no way right now. And 10,000 for 3 hours, that could do me good. If they could call me for another 2 days,
correct.
I can get 30,000 in 9 hours.
And let me tell you something. That's go back to the big picture. Person asking what should they do. Now, local government elections will not be won by all these pictures that people are seeing. Not be won by this big crowd that is here nomination day. Local government elections will be won in the constituencies from 1 to 15, and all the NDCs. So all this gimmick and all this charade that they've seen on social media that they're trying to blind person or to encourage person that the PP has things under control is nothing but a political gimmick.
But you know, one of the things that I've noticed that I took careful note of, operator, let's hold on those pictures. One of the things that I took careful note of was the fact that they are painting a picture to say, look how many Afro Guyanese are with us. You know, and they want the world to see that lots of Afro Guyanese are with them. But if you were to throw those Afro Guyanese into a pot with the PPP supporters, they would just be a little dot. A little dot. Outside of that, we could have counted with our fingers the amount of, and we're not being racist here in any way, the amount of Indo-Guyanese who were on those bands. So that was a careful play out. It was a careful act that was put on Cultural Center stage. And you know how they like to put on the acts on Cultural Center stage. Why couldn't we see a mixture? Because we know the People's Progressive Party, the majority of their supporters are East Indians.
That is correct.
Why couldn't we see a mixture of the people who were supporting them?
Because what we saw was a representation of the public sector, which they bullied to come out on the road. And the public sector, as you would know, is a large following of the APNU. They bully people to come on the road. They bully people to show. I know the PP is known for trucking in people. Now they're paying people. Now they're giving persons jobs so they can hold them as ransom for when they want to use them.
That is so true.
That is the sad reality. And the sad thing about it is that people say, you know what, we want the jobs. It is temporary. The thing is that before they would have got into power, however, installed, etc., 2020, there's this talk about 50,000 jobs. When they got into power, instead of giving 50,000 permanent jobs, they give you temporary jobs.
Yep.
Then they didn't tell the person with the temporary jobs, you might gotta go wear a PVP jersey and go out and protest sometimes. You might have to do this or else you would lose your job. There are so many conditions, the fine print. They did not even give them a fine print. They said, come and get the jobs.
Yep.
That is how they manipulate people in this country, and that's not as far as they would want to go. It has far more to be stressed.
You know what I've seen too? I've seen some women on the road, on the parapets, picking up papers, picking up plastic bottles and so on. Now, the time you're taking to employ these women for 10 days, why can't you put in place a structured system so that these women would be employed all the time?
See, the intention is not to employ people all the time. The intentions are, temporary means that, you're on a string. I don't believe that this government has permanent intentions for the betterment of people of Guyana. I believe that they just want to kerfuffle people, as we'd say it, or manipulate people to get their interests, and of course to serve just a few. They clique or their small circle of friends or family. That's what they've been doing all the time. They utilize the majority at ransom. They give them temporary stuff. They give them handouts, 25,000, 10,000 once and far. They're not teaching anybody in this country how to fish. They basically give you just enough to get by until they can give you another time again. They're making us dependent. So at some point in time, people will feel like, well, without the PVP, we can't do anything because they're the one who's give you bread on a Sunday. They're the one who give us supper on a Wednesday. So they're not making anybody independent. And that is what we're talking against. You should not allow persons to give you handouts. This country is blooming with oil.
You know what I saw today? The men on mission, they were awarded $50 million to do all kind of, or $500 million, something like that. But you know what was given to Linden? $500,000 for their tongue week. $500,000 for their tongue week. So here it is.
For a particular stall or for the entire tongue week?
For the entire activities that will comprise the tongue week. $500,000. I mean, I don't know where is Onage Waldron's head. And we understand that Afro-Guyanese in the party is just a matter of window dressing. They have no particular say. And we see that from the Prime Minister right down.
That is correct. That is correct.
You remember when Hugh Todd,
Mm-hmm.
when he went there to talk about when he signed on with Taiwan.
And then you see the it was a full flip and it was pulled back because then he didn't realize that he didn't have that authority. And sometimes it's very sad. And I want to go back to the $500,000 for Tongue Week. Tongue Week of all events. Linden, of course, it is known for being a stronghold of the APNU. Linden, which the PPP is continuously going in and say, look, we want to make Linden a better place. We want to develop Linden. They want to do all these things for Linden. But you will give such a celebration that is known, that has been there for how many years? $500,000 to run their activity.
500,000.
And I'm sure they're persons. I know of their people, one individual who's been given far more than that to do something that is not so meaningful for an entire town. This is the kind of discrimination and victimization that tongues are getting just because they support another party, just because you're lying to the opinion. That is the problem that we're talking about. When you see people are afraid to talk because they're afraid of losing their jobs. There's situations whereby entertainers have been blacklisted and can't do work just because they're in a blacklist book. These are the issues that people are dealing with in this country. And then because the government, they have the government apparatus, they have the medias, they control these institutions. So they paint this picture to the outer world, and for those who are just sitting on their computer on their cell phones, that everything is all good. One Guyana, and we see this and we see this development. But when you go into the communities and you talk to the people one-on-one, you understand, and that is how effective our boots on the ground program is with our leader of the opposition with a putsch. When you go on the ground in the communities, then you hear the cries of people. People are fed up, people are tired, but they're also scared because you know what? They want to work. This government is not a fair government. This government will do whatever it takes just to seize control over you and your family and your communities. And that is a sad thing.
Again, all that glitters is not gold. I am seeing the president of this country, the installed president of this country, talking about importing labor. They're bringing people from somewhere else to work. I mean,
no.
When we got hundreds of university graduates who are unemployed.
You know that whole thing with importing labor, when the first time I saw it, I was analyzing, they said, to import labor is when you don't have enough labor, or if you don't have the skilled labor of a particular kind. Now, I don't have a problem if you're importing labor to support, let's say, technical skills, etc., to train. You're importing specialists to come and help train. You have a country whereby our unemployment rate is high. We're not seeking to try to bring in more specialists to train the unemployed. We're not utilizing persons who actually went and spent their own money and get degrees and masters. But we're bringing in additional labor. And of course, we don't know what's the fine prints of the discussions or the agreements that they've been making with these countries when it comes to the employment or the importing of labor. But I think this country doesn't have a plan. I believe the present administration, they just work as they wake up in the morning. I remember one time the president said he wakes up in the morning and he saw, probably going into the cemetery to talk to people. They get up today and they think about doing something, to go out there and just do it. And that is the hard up way that this government is moving. And that is no way for government to move. We should have a plan that spreads 10 years over. And that is lacking in this administration. That is lacking in the PPP.
But you know what I like when we do this show? I like when we're on these programs, that we can bring the kind of awareness, not only to the trenches, but to the real viewers and the real people out there. And some of the trenches, they like our programs, and that's why they're always at our programs. But when we say the real things and when we talk the truth, they get upset. But that's okay. We really like when you come on the programs. Maybe Kwame or one of them sending you to listen to what we have to say. But we talk the truth. We don't come and fabricate stories, and we don't walk around nowhere and pretend that we married anybody and we married them. We do the real things. But back to this importing of labor. We have a minister of labor who ain't got no say in anything that is happening here. Now, you got, like I said, hundreds of young people who graduated from university. We got thousands of youths who are unemployed. You see them on the streets every single day. You go to any community and you see them lying on the streets. You're not finding work for them. You're not finding work for all of these single mothers that we got, but you importing labor. We had the Bertram Hamilton College, you remember that?
Correct. And that was
They closed
down.
it and replaced it with what? Zero. So again, all that glitters is not gold. They tell you about how many jobs they're going to be creating. We still waiting for those jobs. They talk about the 50% increase, and I heard one minister said, "Oh, that photo was photoshopped."
Photoshopped. But it came out to some of the members' mouth at rallies. You see, they're not interested in an educated nation. And I've always said this, even when they were in power for 23 years. The more uneducated is your nation, the easier to fool them. They would like to have a country that has people who are not intellectually sound, who are. And the thing is, let's put away the being intellectually sound or capable. Anybody with common sense can see very vividly the corruption, the victimization, and how this government is so hard up in its approach. And they could also see the puppeteer who has all the ministers, even to the president, with strings upon him. This country is run by one person. Sadly to say.
Shame on these gangsters.
Shame on these gangsters. But I say something. That's only for a particular time. I'm not going to speak on how they got back into power. But I'm going to tell you something. They're going to come out of power. A lot of persons might be able to say, no, they're there to stay. They're not there to stay. Their time is running close. And because of that, you see them acting up. You see them spending money. Why do you think they're spending money so well, West? Because they understand it. They know they don't have a stronghold. The only stronghold they have is on our money, our taxpayers' money, and they utilize it to keep people, to buy people, to get ID cards, to get persons to come out on rallies, to get persons to stay at work. But I believe, and I know, when it's time to go to the polls, people who have that level of common sense are going to make the right decisions and take them out of power.
While we're talking about that, this same importation of labor, I don't understand why we got to go till to Pakistan and India to bring people. When we have CARICOM, we're part of CARICOM.
Correct.
And we have made not we, them, the youngsters, they made a decision not to have, they put all kinds of restrictions on the Haitians. You don't want the Haitians here, but you're part of CARICOM. But you want to go and import labor from Pakistan and India. Is this ringing a bell? Is it connecting somewhere? Is something connecting somewhere?
You know, CARICOM, of course, like our brothers and sisters. So anything that you're supposed to import, the first place to look for it is in CARICOM. If you cannot find it in the Caribbean community, then you bounce outwards. And we've seen great disregard. What has happened to the Haitians, I believe, is grossly. I don't know how to put it into words, but I think it's a disservice to people of Haiti. The same goes to...
Well, you know why.
Yes, I know why.
You know why.
I know why. And it goes back to the culture of politics, right, which they try to say they're not a part of. We see the same thing when it comes to people from Nigeria. You see that same way whereby they try to push out one set of people. If you're going to import labor, let's say there's an avenue that we need to import labor. There should be a plan to a cross-section of countries, of race, of skills that comes from first the Caribbean and then to the diaspora. But we've seen a targeted area. We've seen a direct, it's not going around, it's going to a particular area where they're importing labor. They have their own agenda.
And you know, this, I'm hoping that our viewers are getting the picture that we're painting here, that all that glitters is not gold. You see them go out there and they talk about this and they talk about what we're going to do and what we're not going to do here. And it is not for real. It's a whole fake set of people who paint their faces with brass. and one such person is one that used to be my good friend, the Madam Priyamanik Chan. She is so bold that she went to the ambassador's house and cussed the man out at his farewell program. You imagine that? You know, and then these are the same people who want to come to lecture to some people to tell them, oh, you must behave in this manner and you must behave in that manner. We've seen them over the years since they've returned to government after being installed, how they have politicized even more the Guyana police force. You notice?
That is a sad reality.
You notice? Outside of that, let's look at the way they treat people around this place. You remember the attorney Tracy Clark, I think is her Tamika Clark is her
Yes,
name.
who was put on the bench without giving her a proper charge.
And then they want to talk about one Guyana. Where?
There's one Guyana, but it's not the one Guyana we are part of. I think they have their own separate Guyana. When they speak about one Guyana, they're talking about their friends and cronies in a particular section of Guyana.
Because if you look at the people who are getting contracts, how many small men get in these contracts?
And if a small man do get contracts, by the time he done finish with the contract, fees, etc., pay off staff, he get for 200,000.
Yes. Yes. Because you know what? He got to go and rent a machine from here and
Because he
rent a
has
machine
none.
from there. And who he renting it from? The big boys.
Correct. So basically, they're giving contracts to the big boys, but using the small man as a head man, you know.
And then even when you see a small man get a contract, the contract really belongs to a big boy.
Correct.
But they use a small man name to put there.
Basically, getting a percentage, and he's okay with that because at least he getting a little bread. But that is what we have to speak against. And then again, who it's not being it's I've seen contracts given to people who have never done anything. Let's just look back. I saw a picture that you showed with these dog houses that they're giving persons for
Operator,
$5
could you
million.
put that up for us? Because we missed that one. We need to talk about those dog pens that we have there.
I can't believe that you create.
Before you go there, are we supposed to understand that we are going back into slavery? Because these look like them lodges. Huh? These small houses.
Yeah.
Operator, you have them there for us again. Just put them up there for us. These look like them These look like them houses that they want to put slaves in.
Correct. Some
Look at
lodges.
those things. They slant on one side. They got a stairway. I don't know, operator, if you can show us the three stairs that they got, the three steps that they got down there. I don't know how a granny climbing up there.
Now, when I first saw the picture, I said to myself, I even saw one person put a wood so they could climb up onto the stairs because the stairs is too high for them to even step up on. Like, I'm trying to ask myself, what's the criteria for the contractor who got that contract? Is that a home that they're giving to people? Or is it they're setting up a space for a particular movie that they want to demolish it? It's very disturbing of what people give, what this government is giving people and say they're giving us a good life. They say they care about people, but you give us such homes. When people hear a turnkey, people thinking about a livable place that I don't have to go and do any modifications. The most I might have to do is put in certain amenities that the government would not come with a government contract. But you at least want to have a good step that a grandmother could walk up. You want to have windows whereby breeze could come into. It must have enough space that even if I have 2 children, 3 children, at least a family of 5 can live comfortable. These are the things that this administration and even the contractors, wherever they found these contractors, never thought about. They just say, you know what, we get money, we can put up some of those shacks. I feel this is modern day shacks. Instead of zinc, we're using concrete. Modern day shacks, we call it.
But this shack here that you're putting up here, the people who lived in Mocha, at Cane View in Mocha, their homes were better than these.
And they bulldoze it.
And they bulldoze
even
them.
though their homes were nowhere in the way of the road that was built, that they're building.
Guyana can't be a real place.
All
Yes, and I'm
glitters.
seeing viewers saying that is the dog pen. Is a dog pen. And I mean, imagine Guyana, the new Dubai of the Caribbean. Look what we're presenting.
So you see, they have this kind of capitalist kind of behavior because they're going to create luxury for the few and even for foreigners to come and enjoy. But people who were born in this country, people who worked hard in this country, shall be second-class citizens in their own country. The only time they will enjoy these skyscrapers, if they should ever come, is by shining the glass or delivering pizza, whereby we be left to be in little shacks that they move from zinc to concrete. This is what is happening in this country.
Well, you're so right on that one. Because I just saw today where a patron, a customer was complaining that he went to Pegasus and he waited there for
Yes, I
almost
saw that
2
as well.
hours, I think, before he could have been served. As a matter of fact, he sat at the table, nobody looked at him, but they were serving the expatriates.
And when it did come to his table, they put down the
menu card.
menu. The table was full of dust and so on, and they left him for 15 minutes, then they returned.
And so what you're saying there is exactly right. If we look at these hotels that are being built, constructed, and are operating, Wagyu, whatever it name.
Mhm.
How many of us can go there to order $70,000 steak? So it's not, those hotels are not built to accommodate us.
That is
We
true.
can't carry our families there when it's a vacation, when it's Christmas or Easter. We can't carry them there for dinner. So it means that in our very own country, we are cast aside in
That
our
is
very
true.
own country.
I know people don't get us wrong. We're not against luxury. We're not against foreigners coming and enjoy the wealth of our
Oh
country.
no.
What we're against is whereby we are working hard in this country. We are making a sacrifice in this country. If anything should happen to this country, we're the first persons to be hit hard by it.
Mhm.
We can't benefit from it. Our country is one of the highest, what should I say, or one of the highest growing economies in the Caribbean, in
Mhm.
Latin America,
According to them, in the world, the
in
fifth,
the
I
world.
think.
But our salaries are still below the
Mhm.
increases of our economy, of our GDP.
Yep. Mhm.
Money going up.
Mhm.
The country is rich, but the people are poor. We are still suffering. The cost for groceries is still high. They say they raised the salaries, but the threshold remains the same. So just like a few 5,000 or 6,000 extra added to your salary. And
Mhm.
when you do go to the supermarket, you realize that there's nothing but a little chick change to buy sweetie and candy.
Because VAT collecting plenty of it.
VAT
The
collecting it.
same people who implemented VAT, the same people who criticized the coalition.
And it's I always find it funny when they try to criticize the coalition about VAT. When they were the persons who actually established it, the 16%. We lowered it to 14%.
14.
And we're working, of course, to lower it more than 14%. They are ridiculous. They say
All that glitters is not
it is
gold.
not gold. It's not
All
gold.
that glitters is not gold. I saw today and I was amazed again, where I saw the Marriott. Well, not today, but I saw the Marriott up for sale and so on. I
Yes,
think
the
yesterday I
percent.
saw a US citizen who bought it for 65 million or 65, whatever, 65 something. But Marriott making a profit.
Mhm.
And Marriott is up for sale. Gaisuko ain't doing nothing. They're pumping billions into Gaisuko, but they're keeping Gaisuko.
But I tell you what, this government intends to privatize this country, where we had a lot of public institutions headed by the state. Their intention is to privatize it. And many of the times when they privatize it, they have their hands in the private
Yep.
business, right? They get
Like the
the whole
Berbice River
drawback.
Bridge.
Correct. So it's all about how they can put it into a private person's hands, or a private person by extension their hands, so they can manipulate and control it. So even if they lose power, they have their backup plan. Even if they lose power, they still got control of some of the wealth. And this is something that we have to stop. And that's why local government election this year is very important. The city of Georgetown, the city of New Amsterdam, the city of we say the town of
Bartica.
Bartico, Madia. It's very important. It's very important that we, in these constituencies, understand the importance of local democracy. The PPP has never won local democracy in these towns, but they want to win it now. I tell you the truth. I don't think they're interested in local government elections. They've never been interested in local government elections because of the APNU. Local government has been brought back into the scene. For 23 years, there has been no local democracy. They already installed IMCs,
So again, they can have control.
have control. We are not going to allow that. And I know, and I think they're very aware of the fight that they're going to get in Georgetown. They're very fearful, of course, the defeats that they'll have in Georgetown. That's why they want to put up this whole big gimmick of how they will achieve local government elections, etc., etc., etc. But Georgetown is our own. And more than that, our candidates, every candidate that we have on behalf of the APNU state is far better than any candidate that the PPP could ever bring forward. We have persons who are businessmen and women. We have academics. We have persons who are on the ground, who are connected to the people. People who are connected to the vendors. People who are connected to persons in the constituencies. This is not about coming today and give persons 5,000, 10,000. This is about actually being interested in the interests of people, what people want, how you can better communities, how you can better Georgetown itself. So local elections will not be taken lightly. The APNU will not be taking it lightly as well. Persons are saying, why contest elections if we're calling for new voters list? Why you said one time that you're not going to go to any elections if you don't have a clean voters list. But we are contesting these elections in protest. we are still going to call for clean voters list, and we understand the importance of the clean voters list because the lists are padded. But we're not going to step back and allow the PPP to have a railroad over local democracy and take over our towns. So despite our call for clean voters list, we're not going to sit back and say, look, well, we run into these local government elections. We're not going to take that chance. So persons have to understand the implications. It is even more dangerous of not going to these elections, despite our call for clean voters list. I know there are pictures there.
You know, Kibwe, we're going to get to those pictures just now. But you know, again, all that glitters is not gold. Because you talk about, you preach one Guyana. You preach because we care. You preach you are friends with all the citizens. You preach that Guyana is and the welfare of our citizens is forefront and foremost in your discussions at cabinet and wherever else you have your discussions. But let's look at what is happening in Georgetown. Everywhere you go, you see garbage. I remember under the coalition, the former president, David Granger, he came out himself. And then I see, of course, I see Efron following. They like to follow everything that they do. Yeah? The great Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham used to walk around. I see he trying to do that.
Follow pattern.
They talk about the building of roads, and I have to mention these things every time. They're talking about building roads, but they forget that it was LFS Burnham who got paved roads, what you call the roads from Corriverton to
the Linden Highway. Which is how much years? 30 to 40 years.
The Quarantine Highway. The Demerara Harbor Bridge, even though it has outlived its time, it's still functioning.
And roads that they would have established only 2 years ago, they gotta be patching every 5 years.
They don't break up already.
Shows their incompetence.
And you know, again, all that glitters is not gold. All they know to do is to duck in gold water and come out and get them shining.
Carpo.
And when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, it's fake. Look at what is happening in Linden. And you talk about your care. All the people that you got parading and you're showing, oh, look what we have in Linden. Look how many people coming out. Those same people suffering. You got them suffering in Linden. You jump into the community of Mucka. You break down those people's homes. And yet you're going there to say, look what we're going to do when we're running for place in the NDC. I mean, these people could be for real. These gangsters could be for real. You know, viewers, I hope that you're taking note of what we're saying and that you're going to come out there in your numbers and vote solidly, because these people, they don't have your interest at heart. They don't have the interest of your children and your grandchildren to come at heart. And so you've got to be able to stand up and pave that way for your children and your grandchildren. Let me remind you, your foreparents came here and they paved the way for you. Whether they came as slaves or indentured laborers, they paved the way for you. But the PPP, they're not about you. The PPP want to enslave you, and we're not going to allow that. Again, let's look at what is happening in Bartica. Let's look at what is happening in New Amsterdam. Imagine they built a bridge outside of the town of New Amsterdam, when one would want to think that since you have a town, you would want to have the attraction there at the town. So you put a bridge there that people can go into the town. Now, you know what they've done? They built the bridge away from the town so that people wouldn't be interested in going to the town.
Intend to destroy the town. Intend to kill the town.
But with all their ducking in gold water, they ain't do nothing. They already do nothing to New Amsterdam because the people there have continued to stand fast.
And that's what they do. You know, once you're not for them, they try to discriminate, victimize you, put you out. The ferry moved from one area straight into Amsterdam. When you build a bridge, now you build it totally off into that takes it directly into the quarantine. There's a town. Why? Anybody with common sense would understand why. The person just didn't like the town, or didn't like the people from the town.
They like the people from the town.
It's simple as that. It's simple as that. You know, it is no need to sugarcoat anything in this country. It is very clear to see. Once you're against a certain political party, that political party is the PPP. Because when the AP and UAFC was in power, we have never discriminated because of your affiliation to a political party. We've never discriminated because of your ethnic background, your social status, your education. We've never discriminated. And that shows you can go back from 2015 to 2020 and you can see the fairness when it comes to our distribution of resources, when it comes to how we deal with people, when it comes to how we shape our policies. But after that, when the PPP took back power in 2020, the same thing like 2020, they come and try to put on different clothes. You know, they must try to change the red, but they can't change. But they came back with the same, and even worse, to victimize, to bully, to transport everything only into their strongholds. Now, we're not against people from their strongholds getting resources, but you are a government for Guyana, not the one Guyana that they claim. Not for their friends, not for their family. You're a government for Guyana. You're supposed to disseminate these resources equally or equitably, but they don't do that.
You know, while you're talking about what the coalition did and how they treated citizens in this country, it brought right back to mind that in the office of at the Ministry of the Presidency, which it was then named, we had the now Attorney General wife working right there. Working right there. The confidential secretary that the president had was the confidential secretary that served all of those presidents before. And so this in itself says to you that the coalition government was a government for the people.
It was.
The coalition government did not take the resources, the little bit of resources that they had left there and plunged it into their strongholds. They spread it across this country so that in the hinterland where they never had electricity, they got electricity.
ICT hubs.
Where they never had running water, they got wells that were dug and they had clear water. And that's why many times I have to ask that we return to GWI, Dr. Van West Charles, because you notice now our water, the water coming stink. It brown. When that's not happening, we ain't getting water. For long hours, you can't get water. I saw the people in Port Kaituma protesting. And these are the people who talk about we are one Guyana and the development that we're having. How you having development and people can't get water? Well, don't talk about GP hell, like the people would say. We got Christmas from December to now we still having Christmas.
And it's amazing that they try to blame the PNU for the present blackouts that they're having. They said it's our fault.
After all these
our
years.
Equipment. But when we were there, we had less blackouts. Now you take over, now you're saying it's the PNU fault.
But you know what I find funny is the fact that from you count all the budgets that we would have had from then to now.
Under the PPP, from 2020, we had the largest budgets. And, of course, we had supplementaries.
But that's what I'm saying. All the budgets that we would have had, plus the supplementaries, and in every single one of them, Ministry of Public Works, where GPL falls under, they always had monies allocated to them.
Correct.
And more monies to buy generators, monies to service, monies, and still we can't have smooth flow of electricity.
I wonder if they're buying generators or GPL for people. Because I'm not too sure where they're buying material, where they're buying this equipment for, because it's not serving the purpose.
But I wonder sometimes, as a matter of fact, I was saying just the other day that I think some of the people at GWI, they're taking our monies and they're building fancy mansions with them, because I passed in Prospect Housing Scheme there and I saw two big fancy mansions going up at the same time on a double lot or a triple lot. I see them going up there. And I was told that there's some man who headed GWI, that those properties are his. And you know, it is disgusting. Over the last 3 months, GWI would have sent me 3 bills. One for $33,000, one for $30,000 something, and just the other day I got one for $39,000 something over the last 3 months. I ain't got a wash bay. I wash once per week, and that's on Sunday. And even if I do 2 loads of clothing, it can't carry my bill up 4 Sundays in a month. It can't carry my bill to $30,000. And you know, when I went into them, they tell me, oh, they're seeing this is what is registered on the meter. Mind you, I ain't got no water meter. But this is what is registered on the meter. So I invited them to come and check for the water meter and show me it. And if they show me it, I paid triple the amount that they're charging me for the month. They can't find it up to now, you know. But I'm happy that when I went in there and I took all my bills to them to show what I was paying previously, and I said, we can get very far with this. My bill was adjusted. As a matter of fact, they owe me right now. Because I paid, no, I paid the 33,000, I paid that one. And I didn't pay it, like I said. You know, men don't like embarrassment. So he paid that bill. Because I didn't pay it. As a matter of fact, when the guy came about 3 weeks ago or somewhere, then he came with this concerning the $30,000. So we had a 33 and a 30. When he came, he said he came to disconnect my water. So I told him straight. I said, you disconnect it now. A minute and a half or two after, I'll put it on. I'll reconnect it. You disconnect it. And that is when I had him walk the entire front of my yard to show me where is the water meter. I also invited him into my yard. And I'm saying this to say, this is how the poor and ordinary citizens in this country have to carry the weight of the big boys in this country.
That is true.
We get a big fancy GPL bill because we got to carry the weight for them. Because them ain't paying nothing, so we got to pay it. And I'm hoping that our viewers who are viewing here, that they're listening and that you're going to take time off to read your GPL bill when they come to you. Go to your meter, see the number there. Read what they have on your meter, on your bill with the meter, not with the reading that they gave you the first time and the reading that they give you the next time, and calculate your monies correctly because they're gonna rob you. And you're getting robbery with your eyes open and they're taking off your clothes and you're not getting the service for it. So I'm hoping that we are understanding what is happening. Yes, I noticed one of our Deborah Lewis, good night to you. They're more than mercenaries. They have no mercy for the small man, none whatsoever. None. Marcel Daniels, good night to you. Miss Storm, good night to you too. And out front parts, good night to you. We're happy that you can comment on these programs and let the other viewers see what is happening. The PVP, they are corrupt, they are confused, and they're careless. That's who they are. And we want you to know that all that glitters is not gold. But Kibwe, let's talk about the local government elections and nominations day, where we had a whole lot of red. I thought was the Red Sea come back into play. And I was looking for Moses, but I didn't see Moses.
No Moses on that side.
Well, you know, Moses is always on the side of righteousness.
Correct. That's why
not on the side
upset.
of corruption and confusion.
That is true.
But we've seen coming out of the local government, the nominations day. I don't know if this was the big hype that the Vice President Barjagbi was talking about. Some big people in the APNU, AFC, they've crossed and they're with them and so on.
Who does he term big people in the APNU AFC?
I tried to find out.
Yes, we had Patricia Chase Green, who was the mayor for Georgetown, but her stepping over to the PPP is of no detriment to the PNC or
Well,
the APNU.
I was trying to find out.
In her area that she would have contested the elections, she does not have a stronghold. And I'm sure when she goes back to that community, she can't walk the streets in that community and ask anybody to vote for her. Same goes for Tricia Roberts. The same goes, I'm not too sure. Malcolm Ferrer was never part of our party. He has his own story to deal with. But I'm saying they try to utilize these people who they think had some level of substance into the PNC or the APNU to say that, no, what, we're breaking away strong members from the APNU or the PNC. That is not true. They made a decision, but the decision has not done anything that has affected or shifted the power, the strength of the AP and the PNC in Georgetown. So all this red that they're giving us, this bright color, the red and the yellow, it is.
I'm happy that Miss Thomas is saying that. Miss Thomas said she thought it was Labor Day.
Yeah, indeed, it had to be Labor Day.
She thought it was Labor Day.
The thing is, it had a lot of laborers out there too.
Well, you're right. So it was Labor Day.
It had to be Labor Day.
I'm hoping that they can bring these same people out on Labor Day and let them march with their placards and voice their disapproval of what is happening. But people like Patricia Chase Green, she ain't gonna come out with no placard. Even though she's struggling in the part where she live in, she ain't gonna come out with no placard to talk about it because their eyes are blinded.
They're gullible as
with,
far as
with,
they're concerned.
with some. Well, look, they're trying to do all sorts of things to diminish us, to pull us down. But every time they go to pay those who they had to pay to put on them green, them red jerseys is what they pay with. Not two greenies,
Two greenies.
two green jerseys.
Two green
Two green
jerseys.
just they had to pay. So
Two
no
green
matter how
jerseys.
much they run from the green,
The green
they
is
get
there.
right there in their faces.
And I like to tell both viewers something. Local government elections is going to be won in the communities. Don't worry with all this that you see in nomination day, this whole gimmick and all these people in the red and the red sea without Moses. Forget about all of that. In the communities, people in the constituencies will vote solidly and strong for the APNU. The APNU. I am sure about that because I've been on the ground. And our work will continue. All of our counselors are people who are experienced, who are connected to people on the ground, who hold strong to the move by our leader of the opposition and leader of the PNCR, the chairman of APNU. The boots should be on the ground. Unless you're connected, unless you're meeting with the people day by day, knocking on doors, sharing your comments, listen to their comments, listen to the issues, and having that kind of consultation in the communities, you're not doing political work. It's not about showing up on a day and showing a set of red or throwing money in people's faces. That would not solve your problem. It might buy you some drinks or some beers tomorrow. It might buy you a little food for a week or not even a whole week, might for a day or for a few friends. But if you want real development, if you want to have a council or even a country that will actually put forward policy that will better your life in the long run, make sure that you don't just get handouts, but you get scholarships, that you get real contracts, that you get opportunities that is not only sidelined to some people, to some supporters, or to some friends or families. If you want to have that level of equity whereby the poor shall be raised up to a certain standard whereby they can say we have enough. If you want to be able to walk into even a Chinese store, because the thing is that at first people run to the Chinese supermarket because they get the cheapest stuff. Now you can't even afford the stuff in the Chinese supermarket.
No.
It's extremely high. If you want to have a country whereby people can live comfortable, at least have things to eat, at least have a place to live, sleep comfortably, you're not worrying with what you're doing tomorrow, you have to vote for the APNU.
Well, of course, and as we talk about the day, what day it was, what day Monday was, the 18th,
The 17th.
17th. That day was changed. May 1st was changed to the 17th. But you know what? Like I saw one of our viewers saying, maybe Pat Green think they're gonna bring back the parking meter business, but not hey, it ain't coming back hey.
Poorly implemented.
It ain't coming back hey. So them monies that they collected from the parking meter people, if she thinks she can implement that and hey again, it ain't gonna come because for one, I can tell you, they can get no people paying to park in front of schools. Them teachers ain't gonna pay to park in front of the schools where they work in.
And the thing is
So
that
it will fail again.
the parking meter situation is that their parking meters are across the world. But these people believe it not. You should just force things into people.
Force things on people.
If
Yes.
you're going to implement anything in any country, once you're doing things, remember when you elected as an official, you're not the boss. You're a servant to the people. That is what you are, and you should always consult with the people. This is something we want to bring to Guyana. What would be the terms? Can we bring it now? And going back to the day, they wanted to put local government election nomination day on the first day back to school after Easter holiday. When we pull up at Critchfield because we had the barricades, there were children who were told that they can't pass the barricades. They had to walk till around to get the entrance to Woodford Avenue. Tutorial children had to go to Urban Street. They didn't drop off and they had to walk to Urban, or maybe catch a bus to go to Urban Street and walk in. Also, the time is switched. One time is 1 o'clock, next time is 8, next time is 10.
While the people
confuse people. All in attempt to say, you know what, the AP does have a stronghold. We understand our stronghold. We're stronghold. We don't have to show the numbers in nomination. They will show the numbers in votes. And on that day, E-Day, on the 12th of June, you will see the strength of the APNU. You see the strength of Georgetown. And you will understand as well that people are tired. People are fed up. Don't worry about all this gimmick that they're showing, all these nice window dressing and painting on walls that are old. You will see after the voting has been ended at 6 p.m. on the 12th, on the June the 12th, where the people?
Well, I'm reading the comments there, and I'm cracking up with laugh. one viewer is saying it's a good thing we have LEG so we can see all the traitorous. They're now joining Alibaba and the endless thief.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
You know, and I'm happy that our viewers are understanding what is happening. I noticed one of my friends from New York is saying hi to us. Good night to you, and we're happy that you were there. So you're going to spread the word because you know what? I know the handcuffs gonna be coming down. The handcuffs gonna be coming down. But you know, I find very hilarious too another comment from a viewer who said, so is Patton Suba back in arms in arms?
That's a good one.
Patton Suba back arms in arms. I hope though that Auntie Pat will find comfort where she is.
See,
I hope that Trisha will find comfort where she is. And let me say to them on this don't find peace there. We're gonna open our arms because we are a democratic set of people. We will open our arms and welcome you back. And you know, it's amazing. I remember Trisha, you know. This was the girl who used to be walking up and down behind Mr. Joseph Harmon.
Yes.
This was the girl. But all that glitters is not gold. You see, Jan, you're right to collect your babies and hold up your babies. And if you notice, this is what they do all the time. They try to get into communities where they can see a couple of black people and they come and they hug them up. And if they got a baby, they hold up the baby and all kind of thing. All kind of fake things they're doing. But people have recognized that all that glitters is not gold. And y'all can do how much you want. But there's a time when you would not be able to do it. And our supporters and citizens on a whole across this country, they're understanding because even their supporters are complaining. Even their supporters who are not in the 3Fs, they are complaining. Because once they're not part of it, I saw a young man complaining just yesterday. He was on video talking about his Eiffel estate, I think it was, he was complaining about, that they're putting up a whole lot of fake things and lots of monies they're pumping there. But the people who are claiming that they're planting the cane, they're not planting any cane. And he was asking that the monies be given to the small farmers so that they can plant the cane and the cane can be bought from them and nothing is happening. And these people just come out here all the time. Yes, the PPP are bandits, Deborah, real big time bandits. They are the sanctimonious gangsters, the PPP. All of them in the PPP, not one of them you won't spare. Because look at Onage Waldron. Onage Waldron was so bold, the girl pick up the Bible, Kibwe, and swear that she's not a U.S. citizen. Hold the Bible and took that oath when she knew fully well that she had double citizenship. Huh? So how these people could talk to anybody?
When you trust somebody who would lie with the Bible in their hand?
In their hand, 2 times she had to be sworn in. 2 times. I mean, these people ain't easy.
They're not.
These people ain't easy.
They're not.
Imagine there was a certain one. I know she's always get vexed with me. But every time you're going into the Myconi Creek to check whether you're going to check schools or whatever you're going to do, there was a certain jet boat that was used. Every time you go in there, I'm sorry we don't have the picture because I already want to call the names. But every time you're going into that part, one particular jet boat that was used. And these are the people who want to sometimes talk to you about foolishness. But I'm happy that our folks know that all that glitters is not gold.
And from the comments, you could tell that people are in tune with what is happening.
And this is not about black people and Indian people and Amerindians. This is about the people, Guyanese, our local people, our ordinary Guyanese citizens who are suffering.
Everybody is suffering. For the work that I've been doing, along with the leader, along with other comrades of the APNU, the PNC, we have touched base in communities that are predominantly Afro-Guyanese, predominantly Indo-Guyanese, predominantly mixed Guyanese, a mixture of people. And everywhere you go, you hear the same thing.
Same cry.
Things hard, things not regular. People are stressed out. People complain about the job, they complain about salary, they complain about public assistance, they complain about being a single parent, they complain about drainage, they complain about, you name it. there have been complaints about it in every single community. Where they don't complain, they don't say anything, but they send you a text afterwards. People are even favored to speak because they're tired of the victimization. This is something that, see, we the politicians and persons who have the ability to speak against these things will continue to speak against these things. We're in a position at this point in time, not for long. And as our position, we will continue to speak against every injustice that has been done in this country by the PPP or by the administration. And we will make sure that we hold them accountable because people are looking for representation. Local government elections is all about representation. And when general regional elections come, there will be representation from the APNU, there will be representation from the PNC. We cannot allow these youngsters, as my comment would have said, to continue to run this country.
No.
This is not a cowboy state. This is the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
And this is not no one Guyana.
This is not one Guyana.
We got a motto in this country.
One people, one nation,
that
one
we
destiny.
upheld when we got independence.
In 1966, May 26, we gained independence. And to gain independence, there was a criteria.
Yes,
you had to have a motto,
things.
you had to have a flag, you had to have a national animal, national pledge.
Yes.
And this present administration has disregarded it all. They want to create their own Guyana. They want to have a new independence in independence.
You know, right?
It can't happen. It's not going to happen.
Right? And it's amazing how these people would show their glittering. And yes, voters, I'm happy that you're saying that everybody should type there, vote APNU AFC, vote APNU, vote PNC, vote AFC. And that's what we should be saying all over on our Facebook pages and on our WhatsApp DP and so on. That's what we should put up there and let them understand that long time gone, short time left. We don't have time for them and the nonsense because we recognize all they are doing is helping. They are raping this country of its resources and they're helping foreigners to do the same thing. We live in this country and we can't benefit from the oil money, but foreigners benefiting from the oil monies. And the gangsters, they're benefiting too because they're building big mansions all over the place. They're putting up big fancy buildings. They got bank accounts overseas. And we here, you can't do anything. We have the Liliendal there, the COVID center. You should take a walk and see what is happening there. See the struggles of the nurses who have to work there. Go to the Georgetown, the maternity ward at the Georgetown Hospital, the prenatal ward. One pressure monitor they got there. I was there a couple of nights ago. They had about what? Maybe 40-something mothers in there. One pressure monitor they got. You got to go and line up. They're calling, the nurses calling your name, so you got to go and line up to test your pressure. And we talking here about modernizing this and modernizing that. You go to the schools, and we got problems in the schools. And they're talking about state of the art and state of the what heart? Which heart you ever see got state of the heart?
And with all the money that they have, we still have fees on University of Guyana.
We still got fees on at the University of Guyana. With all the monies that they got on all this, so we got an attorney general who bright more than the light, who bright more than the word bright, and yet we cannot go and have talks to have our students who are doing law. We cannot have a center set up right here.
Correct.